Hello and welcome to another episode of Cornucopia of Tales and Tellers. Tonight we're having a catch-up episode. So joining me and Simona is Despina in Greece. Despina, how are you?
Very well. Extremely hot still. Otherwise, very well, thank you. I hope you too.
Cork is nice and cold, just the way I like it.
I'm envious.
And Simona, what is the crack over in Italy?
Well, it's been quite cold here as well. I don't think it's as cold as in Cork, but it's been raining a lot, so it feels a little bit Irishy, if I can say like that. So
Well,
it's been raining a lot. It's cold, and hopefully there will be snow in the upcoming weeks. So I'm very excited.
Bad people, you're doing it on purpose. You're just trolling me.
well, I'm actually nice, warm and toasty because I'm just back from a storytelling session with the Cork yarn spinners, and much crack was had with song, verse, poetry, and I think I told it in front of you guys actually was the looking glass, because we don't use words,
Yeah.
we use the words looking glass for a mirror, because why use one word when you can use 96 anyway. So Despina, you have had a very busy year, it seems, and not only have you been to different continents, you've also been in my back garden apparently as well. So how
Your
has
back
your
garden was full of fairies, Alan.
yeah, I know. I'm actually a shapeshifter. That's why I've shapeshifted down to Cork again. So you were off to Marrakesh at the start of the year, well, back in February. How did that go?
Well, that started a few months back when I got a call from John Rowe, the curator of the World Storytelling Cafe, telling me that they were planning to have this festival. It would be their second one. And they had already done one the previous year, much less organized, of course, since it was the first one. And that since I had been with them, joining them in their efforts to spread storytelling for quite some time, would I be interested in joining them in Marrakesh as a guest teller? And I said, well, John, just let me check my agenda. And then I said, of course I'm coming. What are you talking about? Are you crazy? Yes, yes, yes. And so I didn't start packing immediately because it was 3 months earlier, but almost. Okay, so
Can
this
imagine.
second international festival was big. There were 87 of us, 87 international storytellers from 17 countries, if I remember correctly. We were just missing one continent to include the entire globe.
Hang on,
And,
no storytelling penguins then from Antarctica, no?
right.
No one from
Well,
Australia and New Zealand, Oceania in general, I guess.
okay, there was Europe, there was Africa, obviously, because of the locals who are brilliant storytellers, I should add. I mean, Marrakesh is considered to be the cradle of storytelling. But America was there, of course, both North America and Latin America. And that's as far as I remember, to be honest. Okay, 3 continents for sure. I don't want to exaggerate. Although, it is a thing that storytellers do.
Still a healthy and tasty mix of cultures and stories. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty nice.
And this year it got really big because apparently the the King of Morocco took the festival under his wing. So it was really, very luxurious and very posh and the like. Lots of people gave their this kind of boutique hotels they have there called riads, or even their apartments, which usually are rented for touristic purposes. They just gave them away freely to host the tellers and the organizers.
Wow.
Plus breakfast, it was really nice. And okay, one thing you should know if you ever decide to visit Marrakesh is that they drive like crazy. I mean, they don't stop ever. Even in the part of the city, in that little labyrinth they call the souk, the bazaar, where cars are not permitted because it is the old town. Bikes and bicycles and little carriages and whatever, there are very narrow streets. And at times you must, put your back against the wall so that something huge passes in front of you. They do have traffic lights, which nobody respects. But, somehow all this thing, I didn't see any accidents, luckily, while I was there. But there was no road rage, which was surprising and a cultural shock to me, being European. I mean, people just entered the street from anywhere, no priorities, nothing like that. No pedestrians didn't matter, but it was always in a kind manner. This is just how things were.
Nice.
This was one cultural shock, and the other one was time. So you, Simona, you live in the north of Italy. I know that things work there. And you, Alan, who live in Ireland, when people say they're going to start at 6, they mean they're going to start at 6. Yeah. Maybe in some situations you can wait until 6:03 to see if there is any late comers.
I'm already slightly uncomfortable at the fact that it could be 3 minutes out of time. Yeah.
You see, but when we're talking about Marrakesh time, well, honestly, it reminded me of my country so much, but it was even more so. I mean, here in Greece, we have what we call the academic quarter. So you expect people to be a quarter late.
Okay.
Not always a quarter. But there in Marrakesh, well, I would find my way in the souk with Google Maps to be there at an event on time at 7 o'clock. 1 hour later, the audience and the rest of the tellers would be there and we would be starting. That was absolutely normal. So there were volunteers from a university, a school that has to do with language and culture. And students came to assist us getting around the city, etc., especially the older people, of course, who needed to be escorted around the place. And one of them told a fellow teller that when you're in a hurry, you don't have time to live your life. And this explains so deeply their connection with time.
I like that. That's nice.
Well, if you put it that way, it makes sense. Simona?
It sounds a lot like our train timetables here in Italy. Like you're there waiting for your train, and maybe it will come on time. Maybe you'll have to wait 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or maybe it won't pass. That's our train situation here in Italy. But
you see,
it's nice. It's very philosophical, I think, if you see it that way.
Yeah, why Russian life? Exactly, yeah. So what was the sort of big, what's the story that sticks with you most, or the teller that sticks with you most then from Marrakesh?
Well, the story that I cannot seem to be able to put aside is not a story I heard. It's not one of the stories that I heard tellers tell. It was something that we accidentally learned, and it's impressed me so much. I mean, we know that Morocco is a Muslim country. We know that their attitude towards women are slightly different than what we as Westerners are used to. I mean, it is proper manners to address the man first and invite them to have some coffee. You ask the man first and then the woman. So that is a different culture. It is okay. But what was really shocking to me was once at the World Storytelling Cafe physical place, the actual cafe, there was this little concert there where they had a very popular band of quite elderly people. I'd say they were more than 60 years old, most of them. And there was this little shorty fellow singing, And he was hugely admired by everybody. So everybody sang along. You know, it was like community singing, something like that. There was a lot of la 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 la, that thing they do with the throat, little dancing, etc. So it was big. The next morning, we went to a school to tell with Liz Ria of that matter. So we had a group of students come in, told them a story. Oh, you should know that when it comes to English, Morocco being first a French colony, French is the first second language they learn, the first foreign language they learn. So they only start learning English when the kids enter secondary school. So we met with students who were 12, 13-ish, that kind of age, that age group. And we told them stories to the first group at first. So since they were not very experienced, their teacher had to translate for them. But then when the second group entered, we asked her to step back a little bit. So we had the kids, the ones among them that were more fluent or more confident, to do the translating for the others. And when that was done, we still had time waiting for the bus. Of course, we would wait, Simona, right? Waiting for the bus to come and pick us up and return us to the city. So we were introduced to the teacher's office, and they gave us this sort of mint tea, the very nice one. They have these elaborate carafes, and they serve it in a very special way. So it has many bubbles in the little glass,
nice.
etc. It is very nice. And there were biscuits and the like. So we had a little chat with the teachers while we were waiting. And Liz had taken photos of that concert I was telling you about. And she showed the pictures to the teachers. And she said, we heard this band perform yesterday, and they were really nice. And that man you can see in the picture was singing. So one of them looks at Liz in the eye and says, that is not a man. Liz is like, what do you mean? And he went on to explain that this was actually a woman who, decades earlier, when she started singing as a professional, well, that was not something you would do. It was not accepted socially.
Right, okay.
She was so into it that she had her hair cut, and she changed the way she dressed, her whole appearance, even her name, transformed, disguised herself into a man, and thus made her career, or his career,
Yeah.
It is, isn't it?
Crazy.
I mean, I still remember it so vividly. You couldn't tell this was actually a lady at some point just by looking at them or hearing them sing. Also, there at the square, there was this huge tent built to host the storytelling event right next to the police station, for that matter, so that we would be, protected. But the square is Jamal Fna is the name. It is a huge place with fruit stalls and musicians and dancers, and we were told that back when storytelling was very much a thing that was done in the square, the storytellers would have to be really loud or make sudden noises and etc., so that they would attract attention, because they had to compete with other performers. It was not just like we have it in our heads, just sitting around in a company and exchanging stories. It was much more performative, much more theatrical. And there,
So there's a lot of different groups in the area then? Sort of, is there different tellers at the same time? And they're sort of competing against each other?
There
Or is
was
it
a
tellers and
program.
musicians? Okay.
Oh, how it used to be, you're asking me, right? It
Yeah.
was an individual artists.
Okay.
So we saw some belly dancing there. And after that, we were also told that these people we saw dancing, they were not women, and that cloth covering their face would be there to cover the beard underneath. And that if we wanted to see women belly dancing, we would have to go to the desert. So you see all these changes, differences, they're very interesting. They're things that stick in your memory, right? So there was this thing, it was just decided there on the spot, this marathon, storytelling marathon. Somebody said that there was a, I don't know, 36-hour world record. And then they decided that we would break it. So we had this thing where one teller would go after the next one, even at night time. So it was non-stop. And it actually lasted for 48 hours. And there it was, just open mic. Anybody would just go and fill in a spot, something like that. And
there's an idea for the next time.
Yeah. No, more than 48 hours. Gosh, I can't even think of that. Then there was the school project I mentioned earlier briefly. So this was organized. The organizers came in contact with school principals, and they would arrange a specific date for the tellers to pay a visit. And normally there would be 2 of us international tellers plus a Moroccan one. We started from the city itself, the center, and then the next days we spread even further away, having buses carry us around. We really worked hard, I should tell you.
No, it's not a holiday then.
Of course it was a holiday. You had your free time, but so much was going on, as it always happens in festivals. We just spent so much time running from one venue to another to see as much as possible. And then, of course, there was the souk. Oh, the other thing you should know is that you have to haggle. It's not a question of being.
Oh, yeah.
It's not
I've heard of this, and that terrifies me, because that's something I could never do. I would just take whatever price and just go, thank you. That'll be it.
Okay, so my friend told me that she was not very good at haggling, and she said that I realized I had paid too much for what I got and hadn't haggled enough when, upon payment, they gave me a present. They gave her a scarf together to go with it. So, she realized she had already paid for that and maybe more, right? So, yeah, you have to be strict, but always in a very kind way. And if you think, beforehand, they're going to start with double the price. And you're not going to get half the price, because half the price would be the price for other Moroccans.
Okay,
that's normal, okay?
Yeah, that's
and
fair,
that's everywhere. I mean, even in taxi fares, everywhere, not just buying stuff. But if you believe that you see an object and you really like it and you want to buy it, if you believe that, if you start thinking that I can pay so much for this, let us say, I don't know, no more than 30 euros, for example, right? And you want to reach that price, you start from double your price. So you gradually both go down or up, oh, did I say up your price? I meant down your price, yeah?
This is what I meant. I would be very uncomfortable doing that. I would need to take classes for that.
Yes.
And then you have to pretend that you're leaving the shop and going away and just saying, thank you, it's okay, I'll have another look. So if you got the price right, the shop owner will call you back and give it to you for what you told them. It is a game and it has rules.
All right. So this was the festival in Marrakesh, but
Yes.
you've got three more to tell us about. So
Oh.
let's move on to the next. What was the next one, Despina?
Well, the next one was this summer in June. It was the Athens Irish Festival organized by a cultural club called INIS, INIS, and in collaboration with the Irish Society, the Greek Irish Society. So they found this place in Vironas, Athens, which was like a communal park, let's say, community park. So it was big, and there were different things happening. There was what is the name of this game? You play roles like Dungeons and Dragons. What are these games called?
Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons
Oh,
and
right, okay.
Dragons.
Yeah, but it is the kind of game, the genre.
Like role playing
Role
game.
play game.
Role playing, right?
Yeah.
RPG. That's it. RPG. There was that. A very dystopical one that transported you into the time of the Great Irish Famine.
Oof,
So
bit dark.
yeah, very dark. Yeah, your hero
Yeah.
just died and died and died again.
Which is the same as every Irish story ever. The hero
Mhm.
dies.
There you go. Then there was people in costumes, cosplay, and they would be a farmer and an elf or a fairy of some sort, and the farmer would hide potatoes around the place for children to go potato hunting instead of treasure hunting. And every time a kid would come up with a potato, they would win candies, stuff like that. There was lots of beer, lots of whiskey, and they were Irish musicians playing traditional instruments. So I saw the Irish Gaida for the first time.
Oh yeah.
The one with the pipes, that you squeeze under your
Alien
elbow.
pipes, yeah. The alien pipes
Right.
you sit down with them, yeah.
Violins, of course. And
We call them fiddles.
fiddles, of course, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Yeah, you're right.
Was there any bowron players with the drum you sit down with and you hold it to the side?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Usually a goat skin on it. I play the bowron.
I'm not very
Not well.
observative, sorry. Not sure. But who gave dance class
Nice.
for the people that wanted to join. Yeah, but she wouldn't let me in because I was solo. I didn't have a pair, so I was not allowed. It was some sort of, partner dance.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, so I picked my spot there. There was this story nook they had created among the trees, and it was a bit further away from the stage because there were sound checks and the like, so it was a bit more remote. And we did the gig there. I had invited another Greek friend of mine who tells an Irish story, the one with that that guy who never listens and wanted to build his house upon fairy land. And when
things
the
you
house
should
was
never
built,
do.
when the house was built and they were celebrating their wedding with this lady, they had the little elves going upstairs and started banging things around because they wanted to bring the house down. So he promised that if they allowed him that night and the party to continue, he would bring the house down by himself the next day. And he did, and then he was rewarded because he built where they told him to build, and he found some treasure while digging for the foundations. So, win-win. And
Not
then
often
we had...
you get a win-win with the fairies.
Yeah, indeed.
Nice.
Normally, you just get punished for misbehaving, but this one, no.
Nice.
He had it nice. And then I met a French flute player at the place where I was put to spend the night, which was the Irish cultural. I don't remember the name of the place. Okay, let's say something like Irish Culture Club, something like that.
Okay, could be, yeah.
Okay, but they did give me a bed, I mean. So this French
Nice.
guy, he was volunteering for the festival, so he also stayed there. He was not one of the musicians because the musicians were all Irish, but he did play Irish music. So he escorted our telling with his flute, and it was really nice. We felt we were outside in the green fields of Ireland, up on the hills. And
Beautiful.
yeah, it was nice indeed.
Very cool. Very cool. So after that, what was the next festival you had?
Well, the next festival was by an invitation from Mike Rust, who is the artistic director of the Much Wenlock Festival. We had met also at the World Storytelling Cafe. I mean, that place, the World Storytelling Cafe, online place, has opened up so many doors for me as a teller. They're lovely people. So he said that on the last day, he would not be able to do this hybrid event online and with normal people visiting that place because he had to do many other things being the director. So if I could fill in, I would get, paid, which covered my travel costs. And it was pretty awesome. Plus, I got to tell with many other tellers I knew and admired already. I had seen their gigs online, and I met friends I had already met once in Marrakesh, and then other friends with whom we have been telling together for years online. And then we met for the first time, and we hugged, and we were real people and not, a face in a box anymore. And okay, so what was special about the Much Wenlock was a gig by my friend Karin Lundegard, which I could not attend because I had a gig at the same time, but I know all about it. So Karin is a scientist. She's a data analyst, and her project for which she has won the Step Up Commission this year was what to do with nuclear waste. So Karin knows that we need nuclear energy. We need nuclear factories. They produce enough power for us to last for 100 years. And we have microwaves in our houses, and we have chemotherapy, which saves the life of many people. We need it. But you have power for 100 years, and then the waste is not dissolved for the next 10,000 years. So 10,000 years is a huge number. We cannot even fathom the thought of what that means. I mean, in 1,000 years, consider how life was for humans 1,000 years ago. I mean, it changes completely. 1,000 years is already too much time for human measures, let alone 10,000 years. So she said, okay, we take the nuclear waste. We dig it and dig a mountain and put it inside, dressed in copper and steel and whatever is needed to be safe. How do we tell humans in those next generations, if we're lucky enough to survive that long, that is, how do we tell humans if we still exist 10 years later, well, a little bit before 10 years, that if you dig a mountain and you find something wrapped in copper and in steel, do not open it, right? In other words, her project is, how do we save people from dying by their own stupidity?
So I think it's just them stickers, isn't it? Do not eat. I think that usually works.
Yeah, and what about language? Will language be the same then? Will it be like hieroglyphics to us? Like something we don't understand and cannot translate? So
what about stories?
Exactly, Simona, you got it. Since Karin is a scientist and a storyteller, she thought, well, how have we been passing messages from generation to generation all this time? And the answer, of course, is stories. So she did not want to take one aspect or the other and tell you, yes, nuclear energy is good, or no, nuclear energy is bad, don't do it. Or she just wanted to give the facts through the stories. So she took all this kind of horrible stories from things that have happened to people who had no idea of what nuclear power was and had something. Her show was pretty impressive because on stage she had these card boxes, and then she opened them, and inside were these glass plates. The green ones, maybe your mother or an aunt used to have some in their house, you know, the ones we put candy in or something like that. So the green ones, the green glass plates, used to have uranium in them. It was used for decorative purposes. And when you have them on a black stage inside the card box, they glow in the dark. They're phosphorescent. So it was really impressive. And she explained that, okay, uranium or other nuclear materials, as it is used now in Europe, it's probably okay. Just check and make sure. But if you buy still nowadays these green glass plates from Asia, let's say China, it's probably not okay. So she used all these stories with people getting sick and pets dying and whatever, you know, to pass the message that this thing is dangerous and be very careful with it. And you can Google her online and find out for yourself.
Nice.
She wants the story to be spread.
Fascinating.
I love the idea of like telling a folklore story of like there's a big evil mountain and like no one go near the big evil mountain, and it turns out, well, actually because it's really it's nuclear reactive. That's why you shouldn't go near it.
Yeah, you can go there, just don't dig it up.
Imagine, Alan, if it's the same with fairies in Ireland, and you've got like these radioactive places and you can't go near them because they're radioactive, and you came up with the fairies and you shouldn't build there, you shouldn't dig, you shouldn't disturb the fairies because of
So you're saying fairy trees are
generations
radioactive?
Or
Well, they might be. I mean, we give the fairies offerings. We pour whiskey on the trees, so that's not beyond the realms of possibility.
Really, you pour whiskeys on the trees? I wouldn't go that near a fairy tree.
Only a tiny bit. If you have to pass through, only a tiny bit. But one of the old grandmother things was everybody's grandmother will tell you if you're going into a field with a fairy tree in it, you cover a bit of your head and your hands in mud, because then the fairies don't want to touch you if you're dirty.
Oh, well, I thought you had to have some sort of blemish, like being hurt in some way, or I remember your story.
Well, yeah, that too, and a bit. Well,
you saved your life by having that thorn underneath your fingernail, wasn't it?
Exactly, because they clean you. They wash you, they clean you. So what happens if you're a little bit dirty? They clean you nevertheless.
If they're just passing through, they go, "Oh, I can't be bothered with him. I'll wait for a clean one."
Unless you go looking for them.
Yeah, which you should do anyway. Yeah, I still have the thorn in my neck. That's why they've never.
Just keep it there, just in case. You never know.
Yeah.
And Despina, going back to the Much Wenlock Festival, I saw both from the program and from the pictures that all of you posted on Facebook that you were telling in specific places on site in Much Wenlock. So
yes, it's not a part of the. There used to be the festival on the edge that was done in large tents in the fields. But that's another part now. Half of it is that being done elsewhere. The other half is the Much Wenlock. So yes, you're right, Simona. It was inside the village in different venues inside it. So there was the Priory Hall. That was one of the places where, like the main stage, let's say, where things happened. And there was a pottery pub. Well, it was actually a place where they served beer or tea, and they also made pottery at the backside. So that was another venue. And on Saturday night, there's this great big church there, like a cathedral, enormous one. And at night on Saturday, there was Kath Edwards, the other teller that's named Ronnie. I don't remember her surname now, but she's brilliant. And Tom Goodale. And the three of them told us spooky tales behind the church in the dark. And they had these little lanterns. It was so atmospheric. And it was cold. I loved it, Alan. So one of them would tell us a story here behind the church. And then we would all move a little bit further away in the churchyard. Another one would tell us a story, and then a little bit further. So they all went around in turns, telling one spooky tale after the other. Well, it was not just storytelling. It was a spoken word festival. So there was also poetry. There was also music. There were different artists invited. And Zahra was there, whom I had missed in Marrakesh. And this time I shared a room with her. And she's a lovely lady, other than a brilliant performer. And she is very passionate. She uses her whole body in her performances. And she shares the words of really, really old Iranian poets. And she does this in a second language, so that's impressive. I mean, okay, I'm a storyteller. English is not my first language, but I tell stories my own way. If you use poets, it's so much more difficult because poets choose the words very carefully. And you must be very careful when retelling.
Yeah, you have to be exact. I was having this conversation in the Yarn Spinners the other, earlier. Yeah, if you're storytelling, you can tell the same story 90 times and it's different 89 times. Whereas like poetry, no, you have to get this exact, which makes it really, really tough. I'm not brave enough yet to do
that. You don't know until you try.
True, yeah, but I'll have to practice a bit more first. So, and then recently you were in my back garden, weren't you?
I was indeed. I was invited by Liz Via, my lovely Liz. She had made an open invitation when we met in Marrakesh. So this time I texted her to ask if she would be in Match Wenlock. I didn't know who was going to be there. And she said, I'm not going there, I have to prepare for the Glance Festival, but it starts right after, so why don't you come? And I said to myself, why not indeed? And although I did not have time to see the entire festival, I was just there for the pre-festival activities and then the opening night. Even that was a very good taste of what was to follow. And they're doing such a great job.
So that was you up the Glens of Antrim. So you'd flown into Belfast, yes. And it was Glenariff the whole time, was it?
It was not the whole time. No. There were different venues again. So there was something done a little bit further to the south from Belfast in a, what was that? In a library? Yeah, it was, let me think. Okay, one was in the Museum of Modern Art.
Nice.
Yeah, it was two local tellers who were Liz's students, and they would be performing for the first time. And really, she must be an excellent teacher because you couldn't tell it was her first time.
Well, so Liz was my teacher as well, so yeah, I can back that up.
And then there was this something at a what was it exactly? It was a place much closer to Leslie's barn, where it was like, a 10-minute drive, where people would go and have their workout, or it looked like a gym, part of it, but it was something again that belonged to the community. They had this tree painted with the names written on every leaf of the tree, like a painting on a wall, with the people who had contributed financially in order for that place to be built.
Nice. Very
And
cool.
in there was this activity. Somebody would show the people who participated how to make little elven shoes as the Christmas decoration.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Really, really cute. Really, really cute. So there were different things at different spots. Again, I think that Liz was trying to include many parts of the north, and more people are doing that. So yes, the opening night was at Glenarif, and this is a gorgeous place. There is the Lara Lodge there, which is a restaurant, and behind it you have this little paths inside the forest, the trees that lead you to different waterfalls, and it was, the scenery was incredible. I mean, the waterfalls are very noisy places, but you could relax in that noise, if that makes sense.
It is stunning, yeah.
It was stunning, exactly, that's the word. And then we would return to the restaurant, to the Lara Lodge restaurant, and it was all decorated inside with different creepy dolls for Halloween, who were automatons, and they would become alive as you pass and sing something really creepy, or have red glowing eyes and the like. Some of them actually started talking in the middle of the gig while Colin was trying to address the audience.
Nice.
And, we realized it was the doll actually doing that. So we had music by Colin, Erwin, and Kieran. And it was very nice to see them both on stage together. And there were different tellers telling tales, and some visitors from the US, of course. Liz has a very close connection with the Americans. And the weather wasn't helping.
That's very diplomatic.
Yeah, but we had 2 mayors visiting, plus
cool.
the sponsors.
So
I'd say that overall, it was really nice.
Nice.
And then I had to come back and let the others have all the fun.
Well, the weather isn't too bad where you are now, though, to be fair. What did you say, 22?
22 when I came back. Must be around 25, 26 at noon now these days. Yeah.
I think we're only at about 4 here, more or less. But yeah.
Wow. Brilliant, guys.
Sounds like you had a great fun this year, and going to all these different events and festivals, and well, maybe next time you'll have to tell us more and about all the other festivals you'll go to.
I think
crossed.
flights to Marrakesh.
Look, supposedly there would be one in 2 years' time, because they realized that 1 year apart was too little time for them to do all the things they wanted. Plus, I don't know, because of the earthquake, they had this huge catastrophe there. Yeah, I mean, we were in contact with our friends and making sure that everybody is well. And, well, they were trying to cope, the poor people, but it was really big. So hopefully by then, people will have recovered, and hopefully I pray to all the gods there might be that the war might be over by then.
So to finish us off, do you have a little tale you'd like to tell us?
A little tale.
So grab a cup of tea, chai, water, or uska breha, relax, and enjoy hearing tales that have been handed down for generations, or even ones that were dreamt up yesterday.
Well, I can tell you a tale I shared with the students in Marrakesh, and it comes from Armenia, or what used to be Armenia, because that place where the story takes place is nowadays part of Turkey. But back then, it was Armenia. So there is this lake that spreads across a huge valley, and it's very, very beautiful. And this fisherman lived near it. And every evening, he would take his boat, go to the lake, to the place where he knew there was good fish, throw his net inside the sea, and fish, so that the next day he could go to the market, to the village market, and sell his catch. But on that particular night that the fisherman went there, everything was so calm. The sun had set, and the night was darkening, and he could already see the stars in the sky as he entered his boat and started moving, rowing towards the center of the lake. And after a little while, it was so dark around him that you could barely make out the horizon, and you couldn't tell where the sky was ending and the sea was starting. So he stopped there, put his paddles in the boat, threw his net, and waited. And after some time, he started dragging the net upwards inside the boat, but the net was heavy. And the fisherman was happy because he knew he had caught many, many fish. So he dragged and dragged with all his might. And finally, with one final effort, he managed to drag the net inside his boat. But to his astonishment, there were no fish in his net. The net was full of stars, and his boat was glowing with their light. He looked up at the empty sky, and he realized that what he thought first was the reflection on the stars in the water were the actual stars, and that he had caught them. What bad luck, he said. What bad luck. How will I sell these? Well, these are no fish. I cannot eat them. I cannot sell them. What bad luck. And grumbling like that, he started rowing backwards towards the coast. And there, he took his net full of stars on his back and made his way home. It was still the middle of the night, and he called out to his wife to come and have a look. And his wife came. And the minute she saw the stars, she started dancing around the net and around her husband and hugging him and kissing him. Oh, husband, you're so lucky. Lucky? Lucky, he said. These are no fish, woman. What do I do with these? You listen to me now. You take these, you put them in your hand carriage. Take them to the village in the morning and sell them. Sell them? They are no fish. People will not be able to fry them and make soup and eat them. How will I sell them? You listen to me, husband, she said. You're going to sell them and you're going to get a good price for them. So he did exactly what his wife said. Early in the morning, he put all the stars, threw them away from his net into the hand carriage, took the hand carriage, and he made it to the village. And as the sun was dawning in the horizon, he started calling out to the people, come out, come and see what I caught. I have good stars for you to buy. The people, waking up this early from that crazy fisherman calling out for stars, they would open up the windows and have a look, and their jaws would drop. And as he made his way in the little alleys in the village, carrying his hand carriage and calling out for stars for sale, more and more people opened up the doors, and they opened their windows wide to see, and they stepped out on their thresholds. And at first, of course, it was the children. The children ran to him, and they told him, oh, uncle, will you give us some stars? And the fisherman said, go away. You have no money. My stars are for sale. And he could just shoo the kids away. And then there were some ladies. They would stand on their threshold and they would call out, hey, fisherman, look at me. I'm so beautiful, aren't I? Will you give me a star? But the fisherman would just turn them down and say, no. My stars are for sale. Give me money and you can have your star. So after a while, it was just him and the crowd gathered around him who had money, actually. So the farmer, he got some of the stars and he put them on his most adored cow. Up on her horns, he put 2 bright stars and they shone. And then there was that guy who had his favorite horse. And he would put stars away. He would put the stars on his horse's feet and on his horse's back, and the horse would pass by as bright as Christmas. And then the ladies, of course, the ones who could afford it, they could buy stars and they would put them as jewelry around their wrists and around their necks and on their ears. And name it, anywhere you would look around the village, everything was bright, shining bright. You could see stars all over the place. When the trade was done, there were but a few stars left on his hand carriage, which he hadn't managed to sell. So he made his way out of the village, returning to his home. And there, at the edge of the village, there was this hut. You couldn't even call it a house. And from that hut, out came the musician, the poet, they would call him at the village. And he was really poor. He was dressed in rags. He had no shoes on his feet. And he came out on his threshold and he looked at the fisherman passing by, stars still shining bright at the back of his hand carriage. Now the musician, the poet, he had been writing songs about stars. He had been dreaming of stars all his life. He had spent night after night looking at the bright sky, drawing inspiration from the stars. He was amazed to see real stars so close to him. So he went after the fisherman and he begged him, listen, please, can I have a star? Do you have any money? I don't. Go away then. I only sell my stars for money. The musician thought, and he thought, and he ran back to his house, and from the nail on the wall, he took his guitar, and then he returned and still kept running after the fisherman. And offering his guitar, he said, look, I have this. This is a piece of my heart. I have nothing else. I am offering this to you. Please take my guitar and give me a star. And the fisherman said, what do I need your guitar for? I don't know how to play. Go away, leave me alone. Come back when you have money. But the musician wouldn't go away. He just kept walking after the fisherman, begging and pleading that even for a moment he be allowed to touch a star, hold it in his hand. But the cruel fisherman would not let him. So it was that they entered the forest and they started going the path that led up the hill. And it was night now. The sun had set. And at the village, the bright village full of stars, everybody was fast asleep in their beds when they had this rumble coming from the earth, and they felt the earth shaking. And from the middle of the village, from the well, this swirling wind started going upwards and upwards and upwards until it left the well and it started going around the village. And everywhere that wind passed, it would take the stars with him. Took the stars from the horns of the cow, took the stars from the feet and the back of the horse, took the stars from the ladies' jewelry boxes, took the stars from everywhere, every place, every hiding place in the village, until there was not one star left. And up it went, the same path the fisherman and the musician had taken. And the people, they had left their houses in panic, thinking that this must be an earthquake. And they were all in the street, looking at each other and asking if everybody was all right, when in front of their eyes, up in the hill, they saw the dark clouds gather and a huge lightning bright in the sky hitting a place. And then everything went quiet. And the people, they looked around them. They made sure everybody was okay. And then they had a second look and they realized that all the stars were gone. It must have been that fisherman, they said. He must have been a conman. He took our money and left us with nothing. We should go find him. So they took their pitchforks and they took their shovels and they took all their gear and they made it for the hill. And everywhere they would see somebody, they would ask them if they had seen the fisherman, until one of them told them that he had seen the fisherman going up the hill with a musician behind him. And that is the path they took. And when they reached the top of the hill, they saw this shape of blackened figure that resembled the person, and a hand carriage behind him. And when one of them went closer and touched this figure, it collapsed into ashes. They realized that that must have been the fisherman. And then slowly, as they looked around them, they saw one star turning on bright in the sky above their heads, and then another, and then another, and then another, until all the stars were put back in the sky in front of their amazed eyes, as if they were never gone. But there was no sign of the musician. Actually, nobody ever saw him again. Word has it that that wind that took all the stars and returned them to the sky also took the musician with it to play his lullabies with his guitar to his beloved stars. And up to this day, what to us Westerners is the constellation of the little bear, to them, Armenians, until now, it is the hand carriage in the sky.
Oh, that is so good. Oh, I love that.
Brilliant. Thank you,
Take it,
Despina.
guys.
Thank you
Take
so
it
much.
and share it.
Oh, that was fantastic. I love those stories where like something monumentally massive happens, like you take in stars into your pocket or something like that. Like some like absolute massive change in nature. But that is such a fantastic ending to that. That's beautiful. It's really nice.
It, if I
Oh, it's
wasn't
so good.
coughing, I would sing my little song for the end for you, but I cannot now. Another time.
Well, you'll have to join us again then and sing us the song.
Absolutely. It is an honor having you invite me here.
Such a nice story. I'm sort of letting it settle. It's just
Yes,
really
yes, it has brilliant
really
images.
yeah.
And you know, the first time I heard that story from a friend of mine here on Sirius, I said, "Wow, that is a brilliant story. I must find it and tell it." And then I found it in a book and I read it and I said, "Nah, it's not such a great story after all. I don't know what I found in it." And then I heard another teller tell it and I said, "Oh, yes, this is what I meant the first time." So it's one of the stories you cannot read in a book. You have to listen to it.
Yeah, it's funny the difference the experience of a story, like from one human to another can make as opposed to reading it in a text on a page. Some of them are so much more alive. Yeah.
So you take the story, you make it your
Oh
own
yeah.
and retell it, please.
That was such a nice
Thank you,
nice story. I
Despina.
like that. Yeah, I really like that. Nice one. Well, thank you very much for joining us on a Friday night. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for
That was
having me here.
that was really good. Such a good wee story. I'm just enjoying the story. Yeah. I just
Yeah,
really
yeah,
like
it
this story.
just leaves
Really
you
nice.
like that. It leaves a nice taste
Yeah.
in the mouth.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nice one.
So it was brilliant to have you back on the podcast, Despina, to tell us all about this festival you've been to and to share this wonderful tale with us. So great to have you back, and hopefully we'll be back with you sometime soon. And you'll tell us all about your storytelling adventures. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Lovely being with
Such a
you.
great story. Loved it. Thank you very much. Really, really loved that.
I was just trying to give everybody a big Greek kiss and wish them happy listening. And please, if you like the story as much as Alan did, do take it and share it. I think it is a story worth sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all the stories that we share on the podcast are for you to take and share, please. So listen and share widely. And thank you very much for listening. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time for another podcast. Until then, keep telling stories. The Cornucopia of Tales and Tellers is a passion project brought to you by English teachers Alan and Simona, who want to create a compilation, or cornucopia, if you will, of stories from all around the world and by as many tellers from around the world as possible. So grab a cup of tea, chai, water, or uska breha, relax, and enjoy hearing tales that have been handed down for generations, or even ones that were dreamt up yesterday. Music is by Purple Planet. You can find us on Facebook at Cornucopia of Tales and Tellers. And if you like what you hear, you can buy us a coffee or cup of tea, if you prefer, to help fund future episodes and the hosting of our podcast. Link in the description.